So the former boss of PlayStation, Shawn Layden, has decided to come out in support of price increases for standard copies of video games as well. He just woke up one day and he just thought, you know what, I'm going to go into this. And he actually took it a step further, saying that the price should have gone up with each new generation to cover for additional development costs. Even though the additional development costs are not a naturally occurring thing, they're far more correlated with greed-driven morons, idiots, and nepo babies infecting the industry that never lose their jobs from their high-paying positions despite running their companies into the ground over the years with really bad decisions that come from the top. Gaming used to be all about the good times. Game developers were mostly just nerds who wanted to make cool video games, challenge themselves to push the medium forward by finding new ways to tell stories, new ways to implement mechanics and detail, creating new genres, new ways and styles to render graphics, new boundaries to cross in storytelling as well, etc. And then because of its popularity, the medium went corporate with guys like Shawn Layden and others who are even above him coming in and making business-driven decisions that often made no sense, but were pushed forward anyway because they would please investors and land people like him big bonus checks at the end of their fiscal years.
Easy money!
Even if they were killing the medium little by little. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of this dude. He always came off as a bit of a snake, especially after leaving PlayStation in 2019, and with claims like these he comes off as out of touch. He's not wrong in everything, I generally agree with his take when it comes to subscription services. He calls out the Game Pass and mass acquisitions for stifling creativity, something that I talked about in a video before. But I always wondered, why doesn't he call out PlayStation Plus as well? One of his big issues with Game Pass is that it puts out big budget games at launch. But at the time, PlayStation Plus Premium, for example, which is the highest tier of PlayStation Plus, which gives you access to a library of games to play, a library of classics to play or stream, and a few new releases that you can try for a couple of hours before buying the games, almost like a demo service that you have to pay for. This subscription tier from PlayStation Plus was higher than Game Pass Ultimate. And I mean, if you're going to charge people this much money, at least give us games at launch. Know what I mean? I'm not a fan of this either. I think it really does devalue these big budget games. And by devaluing them, there are consequences that are going to come in the future, and I think we're seeing them right now with Xbox. But if you're going to charge me out the ass, at least give me value for my subscription. And during his tenure at PlayStation, subscriptions were even worse. Before these 3 tiers of Plus came around, PlayStation used to have PlayStation Now, which was a total disgrace. Seriously, it was terrible. Back then it would cost you 20 euros for a single month of this crap, and not only did it not have any exclusives at launch, it didn't even have any popular game releases. Meanwhile, the Game Pass was way cheaper and offered way more value back then. Now, not so much, but back then it really did. But anyway, why didn't he change any of this while he was in charge? He's also been critical of PlayStation being super behind when it comes to game preservation, like not having backwards compatibility for PS3 games and PS2 games, for example. But again, he was there for years and he didn't change this either. In fact, the PlayStation 5 was being developed while he was there, and it was being developed to not have backwards compatibility to the PS4. That only changed at the very end when there was massive backlash with this news. So yeah, he just kinda comes across as like those politicians who say all of this popular stuff that's wrong with the country and that they would change after being voted out for not doing the damn things in the first place. The country of the PlayStation land is cooked. Brother, you were the boss man for several years. You were the VP. Why didn't you do anything about it?
Question. Does that make me a dumbass?
I didn't say that. What I meant was, hell yeah!
But anyway, on the topic of game prices increasing to $80, Layden noted that the cost of premium games had stayed the same for the past 20 years despite the increased development costs and inflation. I already talked about the myth of inflation when it comes to gaming several times in previous videos, so I'm not going to go over it again. Suffice to say that it's weapons-grade copium. It's just an excuse to pretend as if the price of games hasn't already gone up artificially by other means. An excuse to pretend as if the value of a game, or the very wages that we get, have gone up when they obviously haven't. Or, sorry, the wages have not gone up, and the value has gone down. Basically what I'm trying to say is that it's as if paying $70 now is easier than paying $70 5 years ago. That's obviously not the case. And most importantly, it's an excuse to hide the sheer incompetence that executives like this have brought into the gaming scene. People like this ruin the industry, and now they want to kill it by acting as if games need to go up in price even higher than they already have. They think it'll usher in a utopia. You wanna know what really happens after that? People stop buying. Hell, many have stopped already. More and more studios will fail to make the money that they need to make. Profit margins will get even thinner with fewer sales. Just look at the last 5 years. The prices went up to $70, and the industry did not get better, it got worse. Because despite the price going up, the quality didn't. What went up was further monetization. You see, some people actually thought that by increasing the price of a standard copy of a game by $10, it would make these companies less aggressive with all of that monetization crap, pre-order schemes, etc. But that didn't happen. They just kept doing it because, of course, why would they stop? It was never about offsetting costs or anything like that. It was just about extracting more money from players while changing nothing. Hell, if anything, they changed for the worse, spending even more money on completely useless garbage. Game companies can't just be game companies anymore. They corporatize themselves. Now they have a brand, and the brand needs to be socially aware and environmentally conscious. It needs to be representative of current day issues. It needs to muddle itself with politics instead of concerning itself with making games. Basically, everything video games were created to avoid in the first place became primary objectives for studios and publishers to use for pandering and social media points. And then if this had just stuck to social media stuff, it would have been fine, but of course it didn't, because then their games became a reflection of their beliefs. No matter how many warnings and disclaimers you can plaster on the intro of your video game about how it's just fiction, the Karens of cancel culture would attribute real-life malice to any negative imagery, narratives, or inferences in your content or advertising, or even employee social media posts. And that's still going on today. We're seeing it happen big time with what's going on right now with payment processors. So off we go down this awful road of sanitizing and safety-proofing AAA stories, characters, themes, etc. in the name of political correctness, while chasing terrible, unpopular modern-day trends that proved ineffective with other audiences. All of this stuff costed them a lot of money. A whole mini-industry of consultants and social programs and initiatives was born inside of the AAA industry thanks to this. Every time I hear about this nonsense of hiking up game prices because of this supposed rising costs of development, my immediate thought is about this stuff. Why would I want to pay more of my hard-earned money to fund this utter fucking clown show that installed itself in the games industry since 2020? Among so many other things, like COVID came, it hit like a bomb, people were home a lot engaging with entertainment like never before, and so many companies just lost their minds thinking, oh my god, we're going to be gazillionaires. And then, when the bubble burst and people returned to work and a little bit of normalcy started to take over again, the companies didn't really adjust. They're still in a delusional state where they think that those are the targets that they must hit. And if they are not hitting those targets, then the answer is not to reassess the situation and downscale, but to flip the targets by increasing the prices of games to make up for the missing buyers. Not realizing that by doing this, they're just going to end up losing even more buyers. Layden then tried to explain how older video games were cheaper to make. He did it in a very typical way too. He said that there used to be more sports cars in parking lots in the PS1 era, because if you're selling 20 million units at $60 for something that cost you 10 million to make, that's different than selling 20 million units at $60 for something that cost you 160 million to make. No shit. And yet, there's never been any more pompous-ass sports car-owning morons in the industry than there is now. This comment is actually so bad that I don't even know how they ran this in the article. I would have been calling them immediately like, hey bro, take that sentence out, I didn't mean it like that. Like, are you seriously suggesting that the PS1 era was more profitable than the PS3 or even PS4 era? What are you talking about? What are you, stupid? Or does he think that we are the stupid ones who don't remember the constant big fat bonus checks that people like Andrew Wilson from EA and Bobby Kotick from Activision garnered over the years? And just in general, like, this industry has been on the rise. I mean, now it's a little bit more complicated now over the last 5 years because, again, there's been a problem. But even then, this is still an industry on the rise, making billions of fucking dollars. And also, here's just a small suggestion from, you know, just some idiot who flips burgers for a living. Are going up and your sales are going down because of it. It's like having cockroaches in your kitchen. Like, what are you doing? Making the prices of the burgers go up is not going to help with that, I can tell you that right now. And can we talk about how the people with the sports cars would never be the developers either? Like, let's make that clear right now. We see very well how this industry functions for years now. People like Sense of Achievement Andy and Old Breast Milk Bobby were the ones getting those checks while firing developers at the same time. The story is the same if games were up to $100 a pop already. Well, I mean, if we would even buy them, that is, which is a Disneyland scenario. Layden says that this way of thinking has now reached a crisis point because companies have now reached a stage where they have to sell many millions of copies to make back development costs. The cost of production is just way too high, he said. If you're going to spend $200 million to build a game, your margins are super tight, unless you can expect to sell 25 million units, and unless you're Rockstar, you should not expect to sell 25 million units. Actually, I'm curious right now. I'm gonna do a bit of math. Let's see. Okay, so we got $200 million budget, and for that he wants to sell 25 million copies at $70 each. So let's see here. Okay. No fucking way, man. No. Okay, no. I must have made a mistake somewhere. I got it wrong for sure. Let's do it again. Oh God. Okay, never mind. Let's do 10 million copies at $70 and then 10 more at $50 and then let's say 5 million more at $30 instead, because that shit was ridiculous, because that result came at $1,750 million. And there's no way in hell that this jackass is seriously suggesting that he'd need nearly 8 times the fucking development budget to be happy. Like, brother, I didn't even want to use profanity in this video. Like, dude, YouTube has been cooking me lately. I wanted to be as cool as a cucumber, but how am I supposed to when reading shit like this? Like, damn, brother, I'm a bit of a fat fuck myself, but this is a level of deranged gluttony that would make even Aldrich, the devourer of gods, blush. God damn. Phew. So, let's do that thing. 10 million copies at full price, at $70. 10 more million at 50, which is like a reduced price for either when you buy it after launch a little bit or when you buy it at a discount, and then 5 million more at $30, which is at a deeper discounted price. No, goddamn way, bro. I got it wrong. I must have got it wrong too. I'm gonna do it again. I gotta do it again. Oh my god. Nope, I got it right. $1,350 million. Do you guys see why the industry is fucked? Like, do you see it now? We got dudes like this, unironically suggesting that Oh man, what? $200 million budget for a video game? Nah, brother, we need to hit at least $1 billion in sales, otherwise it's literally unviable, bro. Like, it's literally unworkable. It's not sustainable. It is what it is, brother. You know, players need to get used to paying more, you know, more money for their games. As you can see, it's a necessity, because unless I can get a sports car per month, I literally cannot make it through the year. It is, as you can see, the games industry, it is a very complicated, very toxic, very nuclear minefield. And yeah, unless you're making 8 times the production budget of your game, what is even the point of keeping your doors open at all? Like, I mean, what am I eating granola every day? I can't, you know. Sandwiches, I can't just eat sandwiches every day. I have a lifestyle to maintain, and unless I'm making $1 billion, I don't see how I'm going to be able to, you know, really, just the brand. You have to understand the brand. When you have a brand, you need to make sure that your brand looks pristine, and you gotta make sure that your numbers are always on the green. And unless you do precisely what I am explaining here, there's really no point. I mean, God of War, Bloodborne, you know, Horizon, all of these games, really, at the end of the day, they were all flops, because unless you're making, like I said, 8 times the amount that you spent, is it really even worth it? Is it really, you know, like, I don't really feel like getting up in the morning unless I am going to make $1 billion. Oh god, like, I wasn't even supposed to do this. What I had lined up here was to argue the fact that spending $200 million in a game on average is really stupid. It doesn't surprise me that some studios go way further than that. Like, I get it. At the end of the day, if you really are Rockstar Games, for example, and you want to spend $500 million making a game, do it, because that usually comes back in sales and all that money ends up justifying itself. Even if it still feels stupid for others to follow you, thinking that they're going to achieve the same result despite not putting up as much work as you did into it. A great set of recent examples are Expedition 33 and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, 2 distinct games but rich in quality, one of which will easily provide you like 100 hours of playtime at the very least, and neither of them cost $100 million to make. In fact, you probably could make both of them with around that much money. It's just facts. These AAA companies are bloated to hell and back. They are bleeding money. They are capable of spending $200 million in a game, and then it's just like an action-adventure open-world game that is solid, but nothing crazy. Or end up with total blunders like spending $400 million on Concord, and then that game just dies in 2 weeks. Like, that's money that Sony burned and is in a hole somewhere. But I just got curious about those numbers, so I ran them, and now I'm just totally speechless at this guy. How out of touch can you really be?
As a production, you want to grow. And,
The article here, from Video Game Chronicle by the way, finishes noting that Layden also said that they've already been moving the median price up anyway, thanks to the use of microtransactions, deluxe editions, etc., which add extra content to a game at almost zero cost to make, which is what I was talking about earlier. It's content that is already in the budget, it's already meant to be produced and released with the game, often it's even installed on disc, but the access to it is cut out and sold separately, or set up as FOMO bait for deluxe editions or pre-order bonuses. He finished with, they said, okay, what if we maintain the price and then we nickel and dime you with the DLC, microtransactions, battle pass, season pass, whatever you want to call it, and try to make up the excess there. And yeah, sure, this hasn't been ideal, but I would rather take this than the alternative of a higher price for games, because let's face it, it really isn't even an alternative, it's an addition. If games had increased in price, this would still be present. These methods of nickel and diming people are never going to go away. They're always going to be an addition to whatever the price is. At least I can reject buying microtransactions and season passes and special editions with garbage cut content if I choose to, while keeping the game at standard price, which isn't even standard anymore. If you want more money from us, Offer us value, not shakedowns. And show us that you care and that you're actually doing your job, getting your studios to look like game studios instead of whatever the fuck they look like now. In conclusion, Shawn Layden is an out-of-touch executive. He knows about as much in regards to his former audience at PlayStation or the general gaming audience in what they want and what they're willing to pay for, as I do about quantum mechanics. Bro just wished that he could have lined up his pockets with some more millions while he was on top. I know I tend to say this a lot, but I mean it. The failure of the industry right now isn't because of game prices being too low. It's because, number one, the quality of the games coming out is lacking, and no, pretty visuals do not equal quality. A long time ago, risk went out the window, and instead studios prefer to cozy up with trend chasing and sticking to safe formulas that people are tired of. And as the industry pushes for a subscription-based future, it'll be even worse because subscriptions offer a safety net that allows studios to grow complacent. A flop gets saved by subscriptions that are either dormant or made because of other better games included in the subscription service, like Expedition 33 over on Game Pass earlier this year. So basically, flops go unnoticed and unattended. Nobody that should get fired gets fired, no lessons are learned, no pressure is applied for a studio to get its shit together and do a better job next time, purely out of self-preservation, because the self-preservation has been taken out of the equation. This is one of the things I noted in my Xbox video, and I didn't do it because it's Xbox. I don't engage in platform war cringe. This is a subscription problem, no matter whose it is from. It's just that the Game Pass is the most prominent subscription right now when it comes to gaming, and these consequences have already been felt over there. And number two, if anything, the price is too high. Has he left his penthouse to go grocery shopping? People are getting priced out of the hobby because yahoos like this think that $80 for your standard average video game release is a viable thing. Actually, he thinks that it should be even more. $80 would have been a few generations ago. They are delusional. It's not only not viable because of how expensive it isn't psychologically viable either. I don't know about you guys, but there's always a biting feeling whenever I'm looking at a game that is expensive like this, like already at $70. It just doesn't feel right. It's too much for the average game. It needs to be a very special game for me to spend that much. And this opens the door to all manner of other problems for them, such as people thinking, nah, screw it, I'll just go browse the indie market or check out older games from my bucket list and get like 2 or 3 games for $50 instead. The higher these game prices go, the more people will realize the wealth of games that we already have out there at budget cost for us to buy. Big ones even. Hell, honestly, even better ones. Not to mention the total awakening that this is having in other studios happy to compete with these big companies by selling us good games at much fairer prices. Again, this is out of touch with the medium, completely out of touch, both in what they think we are interested in playing and in what they think that we are willing to spend. I don't know where any of this is leading, but I don't see it getting better until people like this are out of the industry completely. Whatever authentic and genuine connection they had to the medium maybe had to the medium back when they were appointed to these positions, over the years of being on top of these companies, they have completely lost it. And at this point, it's like a game of chicken or something. Instead of making the right decisions, they're just coming right at us, full force, straight ahead, with their price increases, hoping that we are the ones who back down. It's like they see it as it either being dead or they just straight up lose their jobs. It's like there's no way for the companies to just calm the fuck down and reduce their expectations and address real problems inside of them. I guess we'll see how that turns out. But anyway, that's it for me on this update, guys. Thanks for watching. Leave a like on the video if you want to help out with the algorithm, and let me know what games you've been playing recently in the comments. Let's nerd out for a bit. I'll see you guys down there. Oh, by the way, I finished Mafia and I will be making a video very soon. See you then.